What's the American dream, right? It's a lot of times it's the family and it's the house. Those are two of the biggest indicators that you have lived your American dream.
All right, guys, welcome back, Mortgage Daddies. We got a couple of special guests today. Father-son duo taking over the South Coast.
Ooh, father-son duo. I like that.
You like that,
like
right?
that.
I think that's awesome. You know, me and my dad have always had a great relationship. He's always been one of my best friends. So, you know, I love seeing, you know, father and son that work well together and are kind of, you know, even since I've known you, Dave, you've kind of evolved your company drastically and you guys are really expanding. And, you know, if you kind of just tell us a little bit about that and kind of where you've gone with your company and what the goal is.
Yeah, I mean, dynamic duo, right?
Dynamic duo.
That definitely feels great. I like to say it was unsolicited. So when Christian started to get involved with the business, you know, and his brother as well too, it's been just like organic. They want to, you know, be part of it, which is great. You always hear those stories of like the father forcing the kid to work with them and all that. Yeah. It's like twisting their arm, but that's definitely not.
And they're miserable and they try to like hold the thumb over them the whole time.
It's so great to see him passionate about this. Like I am. Like I don't even have to like. You see it. Like he goes after stuff with the initiative. So I mean, I could talk a whole podcast just on Christian and his initiative and his drive for the business. It's great. So yeah, I mean, we you know. I don't know. I kind of veered off here, but you just talk about where we're at. Now, you're saying, or?
Yeah. So you started originally more in the design aspect of things.
Yep. So originally the business started as a design. I would offer design services to builders in the area. It was like a moonlight gig. I worked at lumber yards, and I worked for 2 architects. So I offered design services for builders on the side. It was a moonlight gig. So eventually that evolved into a full-time business where I hired a full-time employee designing. We started part-time, then full-time. And then over the years from back then, over the last, I would say about 16 years, it's evolved from design to design build. So over the last decade, really, we really ramped up the construction side of things, which is pretty much our primary revenue source, but we're still very passionate about design still today.
And that first employee is still with us. He's been with us for 15 years now. So that first designer, yeah.
It's great. I've been so proud to talk about that lately. Like he's making 15 years in January, and it's like I have some friends that own businesses with some like 30-year employees, but like for a small business, I don't hear that for any business really anymore.
That's especially tough in the construction industry too.
It's very tough
because everyone just kind of thinks, well, I'm just going to go do this on my own instead. And, why work for somebody, or they, butt heads and they move to another company, or somebody offers them a little more money to have the same guy for 15 years. And now having your kids want to come in, I think that really, speaks volume to kind of how you run things and obviously your personality, because not every construction company is like that.
Yeah, and that's been one of our biggest struggles with hiring people, is because we found in our profession, like a lot of times when someone becomes so good at something, they just want to venture off, whether it's a project manager or a carpenter. Once a carpenter becomes good enough, he doesn't want to work for someone anymore. He just wants to open up his own little finished carpentry company, or even a designer. So employee retention's so difficult in our field, and employee loyalty. And you're right, if someone swoops in, offers them the same type of job for a little bit more money, that person's gone. You could have spent 5 years training them, getting used to your system. It's
That's
tough.
something about your culture and like what you guys stand for and your name. For somebody to stay around basically for the last 15 years since you guys been opened, really, really says something about, the founder, Dave, and it being a family type run business. I mean, that's kudos to you guys, because you don't see a lot of that stuff out there in that market.
And really, and I'll say his name, George, he actually helped me evolve the business indirectly, because, he was in his 20s when he started working for me, and, he was single. And as, time went on, he met his wife, got married, and he wanted to buy their first home. So I'm like, I really wasn't, providing the type of salary that could support that, to help him support his family. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was supporting my family, my young sons, but, I was getting to this point in time where my employees were getting older. And I'm like, with that age comes, experience, and there's a value to that. So I had to start venturing out into construction to bring more revenue to the business. So once those guys took the reins of the business, I could step away and I could venture out, and I started running framing jobs, framing houses, evolving the construction side, which brought more revenue, which has helped me build the business and get it to where it is today, where, we have 10 employees. We're up to about 15 last year. We dial back. We're kind of restructuring how the business works, but for a good reason. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the design aspect on the construction side is important because not a lot of companies offer that. You know, you get a sales guy that comes out. You know, I went through this when I was looking at remodeling my house, and it was tough. Like anybody that you knew that, you know, really did a good job or had a really good reputation was a small crew of a couple of guys. Maybe they had a helper and they're 2.5, 3 years out. And you're like, you know, how long do I want to wait to try to renovate my house or, you know, do whatever to my house? So you end up having to go through a bigger company. You don't get that kind of, it's not necessarily like the greatest work, but you don't get that design. Like I'm, as a homeowner, I'm looking for that help and that design. Like, hey, what do you think makes the most sense? Like it's not every person that you talk to, it's what's the cheapest. You deal with a ton of those people, don't get me wrong, but that's not everybody out there. And to have a company where you can kind of go there and you can get that, hey, I'm not going to say budget's not an issue, but at the same time, like I want a builder or any contractor to kind of bring me those cool ideas to say, hey, listen, this is something we could do. Not just like, all right, yep, you know, the basics, let's wrap it up and go on to the next job. That's something that you guys obviously have kind of found your niche
like
in,
residential
right?
construction is kind of the Wild West, we call it. So like when someone wants to remodel their bathroom, they'll just, I'm going to call a bathroom remodeling contractor. But like the larger scale construction follows a more traditional path, which is design, bid, permit, build. So that step seems to get skipped in residential construction. So a lot gets put in the builder to design it, advocate for you, help you with selections. There's a lot put on them besides building. So what we do is we bring that like larger scale format to some of the smaller jobs. And we say, hey, listen, you really need to start with a design. Sit with the kitchen designers, get plans drawn up. Then we can start to back into budgets and to make sure this is successful for you, and then go into permitting and then build. So that confusion you're talking about happens a lot because that's how most residential construction projects are.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've went through them and it's like,
yeah,
right, we start, you get a kind of a quote and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we need this by tomorrow. You're like,
nothing was defined.
What? I need to
Yeah.
go pick like fixtures. Or I need to go pick this by tomorrow. And you're like, well, where was the planning here? And now you're like, now you don't have time to kind of make those decisions or to have somebody that talks to you about, hey, you know what? Maybe we should redesign this to move this over here. Because if you're a typical, unless you have construction background, you're not looking, I would say, 2 steps ahead, right? You're just kind of figuring out what needs to happen. And then as it's happening, you're like, oh, wow, I should have done this. I should have done that. And
well,
it's
like in your industry, right, the people come in, they're scattered. They're all over the place, right? So it's like they don't know where to start. So we like to keep it simple. Design it, then bid it, put the budgets together, and permit it, and then build it, right? Like people we successful business owners, restaurant owners, we see them, messing around with the order of that, and they get themselves in a lot of trouble. And we just try to reel them back in, like, listen, like, let's get this planned out. Invest some money in plans. You fail to plan, you plan to fail. That whole statement is true. You got to plan out what you're doing first, right?
Yeah, and it's like another thing that helps to set us apart is there are a lot of times in the process where we might be moving along, and let's say a client wanted cedar shingles, they change their mind along the way, or they end up deciding, we want to save some money and do a different type of siding. Because we do all this design in-house, if we design their house, we're able to give them renderings, show them what it would look like to put a different type of siding on their house, or if they want to change the flow or the size of their kitchen, we're able to take their kitchen plan, even if it was designed by another architect, and we can modify that plan and come up with another option for them that they might like. And, we really want to make sure we're not just building a product, but we want to build a beautiful product and something that's just different and stands out and that you're not going to see elsewhere. And that really helps to set us apart, having the ability to kind of tweak that design on the fly.
I can definitely piggyback the fact that I've done some flips and I've done some other different rehab stuff to my house, and really you have the contractor comes in and he's like, what's your plan? And I'm like, yeah, dude, that's why you're here. Like when somebody comes into my office, like you said, they're flustered. Like, I don't know, like just because I'm in real estate, I'm in the business of delivering money to people, right? I'm not in the business of, I don't have a design bone in my body. So it's like, here's the canvas. You guys tell me what to do, explain it to me, and then give me the options. Like, and I don't find out like on some of these things until it's like too late. I'm like, really? Is that like the best siding? Oh, that was the cheaper one. I'm like, what's the next one look like? Well, it was $2,000 more for the, I'm just making this up, right? For the whole house. I'm like, for $2,000, I could have had that. Well, what's $4,000? Get me that. And I'm like, that fits the rest of the neighborhood. Why is mine going to stick out like the sore thumb? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like it's a lot, like it's similar to our industry where, one of the reasons why I got into this, and one of the things that I kind of said when I got into this that I didn't want to be, was that loan officer that didn't give the options, that just kind of took the file in, kicked out a pre-approval, didn't talk to them about it, and just kind of said, hey, this is where you're at. Not, hey, this is your options. This is how you can go higher. This is how you can go lower. These are what your payment looks like. These are the different programs you have. To give those options so that as the consumer, you feel comfortable in the decision that you made when you go under contract on the house and you get that paperwork.
Yep.
You guys, I feel like I have struggled to find contractors that do the same kind of thing, because a lot of them are still the people that are doing the work themselves.
Yeah, and that's the mechanics behind it, right? We like to say we're the quarterbacks of the situation. We like to say, okay, well, people call us, say we want to build a house, and I say, well, do you have land? And like, well, yes. Okay, well, is it approved buildable? And then we'll say, okay, well, they'll decide, no, it's not. Or, well, all right, you need to work with the survey. We'll give them surveyors they go work with, and then they'll connect with them. We'll stay in touch with them through the process. And we say, call us if you have questions. We'll point you in the right direction. We're not even working for these people.
Yeah.
We're just offering them insight that hopefully when they get closer, we can help them. Now we can start budgeting. What's the cost per square foot? What's your budget? What we divide that back into what house square footage can we build for you? So those being the quarterback is kind of what we pride ourselves on. And that's the mechanics of it. Like, yeah, we have a passion for design and, building great projects, but the mechanics and the inside of it is the systems that Christian's talking about. We have those in place, for those situations.
Yeah.
And then I forgot. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Talk about a little bit. I know we were talking about before the show came on, Christian, you hit kind of, and it's now just sitting in my head and resonating, is the amount of people and the different job types that they all have. Like you said something earlier, like, hey, the owner's wearing the tool belt, going everything, budgeting the job, doing the materials, like doing all that. You guys have separate people to do all of these jobs. So everybody's doing their job. They know what the left hand's doing, the right hand. Exactly.
Yeah, we have an entire team established. A lot of times, and no diss to them because we hire a lot of these guys, but a lot of times you have that tool belt or that dashboard contractor is what we like to refer to them as, where they're keeping track of all of these orders. They're coordinating all of the work that's going to be happening there. They're potentially working back and forth to the bank, and they're also swinging a hammer. And so we call them a dashboard contractor because all the invoices are on their dashboard. How can you keep track of all of that stuff at once? That's why those guys usually only build one, maybe two projects at a time. They're usually some months out. It's this long time frame. For us, we have an entire process and team that we've established, because building a home, especially like a new construction home from the ground up, there are so many selections and it's overwhelming. And so we want to try to make that as simple and organized as possible for them. So we have a team member he's our project manager. He's dealing with the day-to-day with the subcontractors, keeping clients updated on the schedule, on what that schedule looks like for the week and the overall picture. We have our project coordinator. He's soliciting what tile you want. And once you let us know, we're buying the tile. What toilet you want, we're ordering the toilet. We're not saying, hey, go pick this out, buy it. We need it on the site by Monday. We're doing.
It's just literally, it's crazy.
We're doing that because that can become a full-time job. If you're trying to, sell mortgages and also do that.
8:30 at night,
my
running
wife
through
was
Home
like,
Depot.
I didn't know I was going to be a general contractor when we were renovating our house. She's like, I'm having to run to this place and try to track down things. We're having to make last-minute decisions the night before so she can go find it and go pick it up. It's like, where was the communication in this? And what people don't understand, and I'll really back where you guys have, because so many people want that low cost for whatever it is, but they don't understand how much money they're going to waste
cut us out of
in the long run because of it. They're going to either waste their time, or they're going to have things redone because there was no proper planning. And, you're putting the cart before the horse in certain situations, and you're having to, rip things out. I mean, I had to do it in my bathroom. I had to have the plumber come back, rip out the plumbing, move it because there was no planning, and they're putting it on the wrong side of the house, the wrong side of the bathroom. I'm like, how could I ever get around this to turn on the shower? And those things cost me money.
Yeah. And the other key person in our overall team for each individual project is our office controller or our office manager. She's dealing with all the projections because these jobs move fast. And when you start talking change orders or cost increases or cost savings in some areas, that's a lot to track. And so people want to be able to make educated decisions when they might want to upgrade the siding or change the roof from metal to asphalt. There's a lot to keep track of. So her doing financial projections for, hey, this is where we're at, this is what we're anticipating, that's really helpful, because some of the biggest stressors in these projects are the financials and the choices. And we have seen many times, kind of before evolving our process, the strain that it can put on people's marriages, building your dream home. And it's like the amount of people I talk to that they're like, I wanted to kill my spouse. Like, I didn't think we were going to get through it.
Yeah.
And we never want that to be someone's
And that's
experience.
not even them running their job. We have I've seen over the past 15 years, this like uptick of people that want to be their own builder, a general contractor for their own like custom home that's never been built before. They've never built a home before. They've never done a major renovation project. And they were like, well, if we don't hire you and we run it ourselves, we can, my Uncle Tony does electrical.
It's
and
always an uncle.
I love it when it says an uncle or
this
nephew.
This guy
I'm like,
owes me a favor. And it's like, I'm like, but listen, like you've never done this before. And you're going to take one of the most, probably the biggest investment of your whole life, and you're going to manage it. Like just our clients alone that we're sending them emails, hey, we need you to make a decision on this tile. And we send them resources and links and addresses to showrooms. Most of them can't even keep up with that. I don't know how these people can keep up with soliciting bids, making sure people have insurance. It's just, it's like, it's a lot.
I say this to every single client that walks into my office. They're married, they come in, and they're like, we want to build a house. I said, congratulations. What you should do is each of you guys should go talk to a divorce attorney, figure it out, because 50% of the time, it ends up down that road because the job runs out of money. They have to come back to me, and I'm like, we can't give you more money for. They always leave out landscaping, decks, all of the the finished work. They're out of money. The bank's like, we're not giving you any more money. You guys should, because the wife goes off, or the husband, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Spends too much money on upgrades in the kitchen at the middle of the project. They get to the end of the project, there's literally no money for decks. Everybody's
a lot
nervous.
of people will ask them when they either don't decide to go with us, and they're moving forward their project. I've done this. I've kind of inquired later, like, hey, where you at? Like, are you on budget? Like, did you get pricing for everything? And most of the time, people move forward with a construction project without even getting all their pricing in for the landscaping, for the whatever.
They don't think of it.
The finishes in the house. They don't even know. So they're
just how much money and
how much
fixtures.
they're really going to end up spending, And a lot of times we come in higher because we have everything. Christian does our estimating. We've got towel bars, mirrors, shower doors,
all these little
appliances. Most of the builders aren't including in that, but that you need to know that because you want
always
to walk
try
in your
by
house done.
I think there's like
You don't
not
want a
enough
dusty front yard
education
for
on
2
it.
years.
Driving through like a new construction, you don't see the exterior lights on the house. I'm like, ran out of money on that project. It's been like 9 months.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the biggest things that sets us apart too, is we do our estimating in-house. So a lot of times, one of the biggest struggles we find with clients is other contractors take forever to give them a price. They're like, yeah, we sent it out like 6 weeks ago. We haven't gotten a price back because all these other guys are calling around to their subs. They're trying to get pricing. The price is set of plans. They're not complete prices. We do all of our estimating in-house. So if someone gave me a set of plans, we could technically have them an estimate probably the next day if we really wanted to. But usually we have them in within about a week of them sending us a set of plans, and we run through everything, our construction process, the budget for their home, where they can cut back, where they can add if they wanted to add. We're estimating the landscaping, all the finished site work, we're estimating, and then everything, like you said, all the way down to the bathroom mirrors, because it's the little things that add up that contractors don't add, and then you're like, shit, I have no fixtures in my bathroom.
Oh yeah, I just
perfect
bought
process.
a new house, and I wanted to build out. Well, we kind of wanted
Everyone
to build a
wants
house.
to build their
Yeah,
own
you
house.
want to kind of build a house. I didn't want to build it
Not me.
myself. Trust me.
I want to build my own
I
house.
see too many people
I'm a
walking
builder
in,
and
I'm
I
like,
haven't built my own house.
I didn't
yet.
want to build it myself,
built
but like
tons
for
of
what we were
houses.
looking for, it was like for what
Don't
was
want
out
the
there.
stress.
There wasn't anything. And after going through renovations, I'm like, to my wife, I'm like, I won't make it. Like I physically will not make it through it, just having to make all the decisions because we went through such bad experiences. So I bought, a pre-built house that was done. But even just the little things you're talking about, like the fixtures and all these things, I'm like, even buying it brand new, it's like all this stuff we're spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, just the bare minimum things that you don't even think about,
toilet
You're
paper
gonna
holders.
bust out your Ryobi drill and start installing
Yeah.
paper towel holders, and
I did put a few. I still got a couple of skills, but I don't want to. Yeah.
You shouldn't need to, right? Like if you're building a house, I always try to tell my clients, I'm like, make sure you have a good general contractor that's going to run the show. Because if you try to do this with running your own business or going to work 9 to 5, I do not want to bust out the Ryobi or the DeWalt and do anything at the end of the day. Like, don't call me and tell me, we hit ledge over here. I don't really care. I hope that was in your budget, like for the foundation or whatever it is, right? Like, maybe we add 5,000, but just don't call me. Like, it go away.
Most projects aren't, even if you invest in drawings, not everything's predetermined, right?
Yeah.
And those drawings, those towel bars, those mirrors, those what granite are you going to go with, or what stone? None of that's picked out. It's very rare in
Yeah.
residential construction. So there's two ways to go about it. You can involve a builder very early when you're designing with an architect, or if we are the designer for that project, we can do like pre-construction agreements where we're doing full estimates while the design is evolving. It's very involved, but it requires the client to invest not only in the architect but also in the builder in a pre-construction agreement where these two parties are working to fully put together this picture of what your home is going to cost. Those are the more successful ones, but it's unheard of in this area. People barely even want to pay for plans. Just let's go online, print out some plans.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that earlier.
It's like we have to, eventually learn, all right, we at least have to adapt them to the region. And a lot of stuff is left to be unknown at the early stages. So Christian creates allowances for all these different products, but we do it up the middle. But, clients still pick very expensive finishes.
Someone recently pick a $7,000 clay soaking tub handcrafted from Australia. Like stuff like that, or $350 wall outlets versus a $3.50 wall outlet.
How can you
Home Depot.
budget that from the beginning?
You can't necessarily.
What do you look at when they walk in your office? What they're wearing, or what they like? How do you gauge?
Yeah, you don't know what's important to somebody either.
So what we have to do is just say what we see across, which is common, and that's what we allow for.
Yeah.
And then it's really up to the customer to make those decisions. We show them, hey, this is what we allowed for. This is what you chose. What do you want to do? And I remember what I was going to say earlier about how you want to offer your clients options. What we've been baking into our processes, all right, when we send out a foundation price, we say, okay, this is where it came in at. Do you want to proceed or not? And we've been baking into that like upgrades. For instance, there's like these foundation coatings we can do, tough and dry systems.
Yeah, I like that.
Where it's, it's an upsell, it's expensive, but I don't want to miss those opportunities
why
to be
wouldn't
more
you do
profitable
that?
as a business. But I also want to offer advanced technology, advanced performance, upgrades to these people's homes if they have the budget for it.
Yeah.
It's not common. Most people are pushing their budget, but for the clients that we do get that have a better budget or
Craig loves
budget,
upgrades.
Yeah, no, I do.
Craig is the perfect candidate to build a house
It's like,
for.
what
Just
is this? But like,
base
what does this get
foundation,
me? Like,
50 grand. All the add-ons, 230. I want that.
I mean, I'm not the only person that's like that.
No, I
because
agree.
My thing is I want quality more than anything. Like, I don't want to replace something. I don't want to go cheap with something that's supposed to last me a long time or whatever it is. So it's like, I realize that, like, it's the same thing, like a certain pair of shoes, like I'm going to buy a nicer pair of shoes because I want the quality, or a nicer pair of jeans or whatever it is. And that when you're building a house, it's like, I struggled to find that person that was going to help.
What if they're not giving you those choices? You don't know
I didn't know.
They didn't get them.
You don't know about
So it
it.
was
And
like
then he finds out
I
after.
did it all. Yeah, I'm like, oh well, we could
did
have
all
done
this.
How
But
am I
that
supposed to?
person
Because I'm
probably
not-
couldn't even keep up with what he was doing. He was just trying to just get by every day. Like the dashboard contractor, we call it belt and suspenders. Like that guy's work should be focusing on craftsmanship. Yeah. And we hire a lot of people like that. We hire, the belt and suspenders guys, and we manage all the other aspects for them. We have our own on-staff carpentry as well too, but when you're building multiple large-scale projects, you have to subcontract.
It drives me nuts because it's like you go buy a car, right? And you say you're picking out and you're ordering a car. Here's the base. Here's all these like. Why don't you get that when you do certain jobs?
You know what the big difference is, and the building industry alludes to this a lot, is that we're building a one-of-a-kind product in the elements. Cars are being built in a manufactured, controlled environment repetitively over and over again. So it's a lot more controlled process. It's more efficient. There's more opportunities to be like, slick like that and offer upgrades. But when you're building one of a kind products in the middle of literally, this guy's framing our houses and pouring foundations at 10 degrees, 15 degrees outside, snow on the ground. They're shoveling snow out of the hole to pour concrete. Like it's a tough world out there. And like, you can't expect much other than these guys are just trying to get it done and keep it straight and level.
Which is why we tried to structure our company to be able to offer those different, upgrades and whatnot. We always joke about it's not really jokes, it's true, the good, fast, cheap method, which we refuse to do the fast and cheap because then that tarnishes your name and we don't want to be known for putting out cheap and crummy products, but you can't have all three. You can only have two of them, right? So if you want to go fast and you want it to be good, it's just not going to be cheap. And a lot of times everyone wants all three and it's just not possible.
Especially in this area, right? I mean, we joke around about it. Like as soon as you do, like kind of even on the mortgage side and the real estate side, you get out of, and I don't want to say just South Coast, but like different pockets of Massachusetts, right? Not just the South Coast. There's some other pockets that are very similar to this, or even you go around, but it's amazing. Like then you call and you talk to other clients, like, yeah, that's great. Well, let's go over the rate. Yeah, it's good. It's going to be around the market rate. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ship it. I'm like,
Simple.
and they're the easiest clients for us to deal with. And they get in the best product, right? Like we're going to do the same amount of work for everybody, but it's less headache. Like I never have to talk to them. Like you talk to them when they need to, which is very rarely. But you just keep them informed, keep them updated. That's all they want. And they're not knocking down. I have a crazy question. That lady who ordered that $7,000 tub. Did she beat you up on anything else in the project? Any other pricing where she was like, I don't know about these wall outlets?
I wouldn't say necessarily for that project. Reason they've been great. Reason being is they're actually working with an interior designer out of Canada. So a lot of these choices and these finishes, it's that
designer.
interior designer's
That's awesome.
vision.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's what they wanted, and they understand. Like, hey, we understand you guys gave us the standard price for this area, and you're just keeping up with all of our selections and getting it done. And
That's awesome.
They've been great. The question was asked though, like how come? Because it's over budget. The project is well over budget, and they said, well, how come you didn't anticipate like all these expenses? Say, well, none of these things were given to us. None of these. We didn't know what tub you were going to use. We didn't know what faucet fixtures. None of that was provided up front, so we could price it and bake it into the budget. We just provided them. Our allowances that most people in the South
nobody
Coast
would
go
ever
to
do that.
Home Depot or Lowe's or a showroom to pick out.
A tub.
We've never utilized a tub from Australia.
That's wild. That's awesome though.
And it's great, and we want to provide that, but you're never going to get that if you don't involve a builder very early in the design phase. And we were brought in after the fact, actually with a second builder, because I had a builder start the project. So we were brought in way after the fact. Yeah. But
I think one of the things that makes like our day-to-days go so like I would say smoothly and well is the reason behind what we do, right? The reason behind what we do, it's not money driven. Sure, there's great money in construction, but there's also plenty of opportunity to lose a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Plenty.
Oh yeah.
We learned some lessons quick.
He's opening up scars right now. He's about to open up some gashes.
But it's the drive behind wanting to give people what their forever dream has always been. What's the American dream, right? It's a lot of times it's the family and it's the house. Those are two of the biggest indicators that you have lived your American dream. And so to be able to provide one of the biggest reasons that people come here in the first place, it's really special. And like, especially for me, I take care of all of our measuring. So for all of the existing homes that we do plans for, I measure all of them. And then I do all of our construction estimating. So I'm one of the first points of contact, and I'm one of the first employees in the business who works with them. So I really think that people feel a lot of confidence in a company when they see a familiar face throughout the entire process. Although I'm not their project manager, I'm not their project coordinator, they're seeing my face throughout the entire thing, from the first meeting to go over their project all the way till the end when we do a final walkthrough and we thank them for the project. And
that's kind of a part of that evolution too, because we would design only, and then we'd either refer builders or the clients would have builders. And I remember like years ago seeing like when we weren't building, it was just designing, and I would see like these builders fumble and like things go all kinds of sorts of crazy. And I'm like, and I would just think, I'm leaving money on the table by not being like, hey, if you don't have a builder, can I price this project for you? I'm a licensed builder. And then B, just, offering that, back in the day, people call you a briefcase contractor. You're not wearing a tool belt. You're not really, you're just marking up everybody's services.
Yeah, you're just making money on everybody.
No, that's not. Yeah, that's just an ignorant statement. Like we run our company like a light commercial construction company where we have a project management team. So I wanted to bring that. I saw like other companies, bigger companies in the area. And I said, I want to follow that model and bring it to the residential side, but also, obviously offer it for the like commercial and industrial projects. We do that type of work as well too. We're not just in the residential realm. So, that's kind of where it evolved from, is like offering that, full service. Yeah.
Now, what are you guys' plans for the future? Because you got two kids that are raring to take over the family business, it seems like, and I'm sure there's no pulling back or slowing down at this
Yeah, I
point.
mean,
Boxing
Yeah.
ring for the two
Yeah.
kids. Who's taking over Dad's empire?
The simple terms, I'll let him discuss like what his like where he sees it, but for like the overall vision is, we're a design build. We design and we build a lot of our projects, but half of them are other architects, other designers' projects. I'm really my big vision this year in the next couple of years to open our relationships with other architects, to open the door with that, and just develop those relationships to get their projects. 'Cause some of the greatest homes we've designed have been from other designers, other architects. So we want to get more of that type of, going on. That we're not just building our own projects. So yeah, that's a big part of that. And with that would come increased revenue.
Yeah. I think the overall, I never want to, we're both of the same understanding that we never want to grow too large where we feel like there might get to a point where we have to start laying guys off if work becomes slow. We always want to stay in a place where our people, we all feel like a family. We don't feel too big. Everyone likes each other. Everyone's paid well, and we just put out a great product. So, we'd love to double what we do. We probably have about 9 active construction projects right now. So we'd love to add some project managers to the staff. But other than that, we want to keep it at a manageable size where we all can just, comfortably do what we do. And it's not
We got
like
10
big
rock
stress.
stars right now. We want to keep it, smaller, but like Christian said, everyone's paid well. We're doing like higher ticket jobs, more high end, more challenging.
Is that going to be a focus for you guys more on the higher end stuff?
It always has been.
Yeah.
But it's something you have to work towards.
Crack into.
You don't fight Mike Tyson the first time.
Yeah,
Unless you're Jake Paul, but that's
Yeah.
a different
Right.
story.
Because think about it, like
Unless Mike Tyson's slowly dying.
Yeah.
Can't stand up.
Hey, for $20 million, I'll get in the
You
ring
got
with
to work
anybody
your way
too.
up to that fight, and it's like, it's especially in construction. We have a portfolio. You go to our website, we have the projects now. You can see we've done it. So it's like, I didn't have those years ago, and I'm not going to fake it. There is contractors out there where they're using like stock images on their website. Like, that's not us.
You guys all
Like,
built the same
all
house
our
here.
stuff is legit. Yeah, absolutely. And we've been getting better at documenting that, putting out, different like videos and media.
That's important. I mean,
multimedia
especially in
and
this
stuff,
day and
yeah.
age, when you start looking at a company,
Yeah.
you're going to look at their social media pages or you're going to look at their websites and see what they have to offer and see what kind of projects. And hey, look, I love this bathroom these guys
Right.
did. They're going to call you. That's a huge, huge part of it, where I think that's definitely going to be a great piece for you guys with that you have going on now.
And you guys see it on the lending side too. One of the biggest struggles that I've at least found is that there is no raw buildable land available right now. There's like none for people. So those who want to build their custom dream home, it's so hard to find, especially at an affordable price point, to be able to build the dream home. You buy a piece of land in Dartmouth for $350,000, then you want to build this beautiful custom home, which could be looking at $8 to $1 million. Now you're all in $1.3, $1.4 million for your dream home. Like, that's a big price tag.
Yeah.
But those pieces of land are so hard to come across because a lot of it is the large parcels are being bought to create subdivisions in, which are all just a bunch of spec cookie cutter homes, which no diss to those because we design them and we've built them. But it's so hard for people to find that land,
Yeah.
Now, are you guys building homes on your own kind of to fill in gaps?
So this year we did 2.
We're trying to.
Yeah.
The-
Trying to
so-
find the land.
land.
problem?
Permitting and land. Yeah.
This
I
year
like
we
Christian-
did. This
yeah.
year we did 2. So we did there was a fire damaged home that we tore down to the foundation. We rebuilt a brand new construction home. We're under agreement. We're going to be closing at the end of the month. That job, we own that land for 2 years. We are set to make next to nothing on that project. And that's at our pure cost. Then we recently did another project where we bought a split level home with a partner and renovated it, created this beautiful product. Because again, we're not in the market. We're not in the world of creating cheap products. So we put out something good and beautiful. We created a beautiful product and we just got an offer today. And once we balanced all the expenses from the construction project, the holding costs, the commissions, nothing.
I feel like that's, you guys are learning the lesson of why a lot of builders either renovate for people who want to spend the money to have that nice product
Yeah.
or build the house for them. They don't care about the budget.
Yeah.
Or they get the spec builders that build houses for a third of what you guys probably
I'll
spend.
always do it, but I think the big thing, I've built homes before and to sell, and I've made minimal profits, and we've been more successful building for clients, for custom homes for clients. But this time around with these more recent projects Christian is discussing, the interest rates definitely took a big bite out of that profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
You're
you started that
you're
2.5
building for
years
6
ago.
months, 8 months, and you're paying, 10% on that money.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the bank's getting $60,000 for just letting you borrow money. It's like that's
For 2 years.
If that was my cash,
Yeah, now
our
you're
cash, right?
profitable.
They're taking the profit. So it's like we're doing all the risk, all the work, and the bank's making the most money in this whole deal. There's something wrong with the industry right now,
Along
and
with
it's showing. It's showing right now
the
because
permitting in the towns. Like I just hear the war stories. That's why I'm like, I
Yeah,
would
I'm
never
sure it
build a
didn't take
house.
you guys 2 years to build it.
Yeah, it was
It
permitting
took
and everything
probably
that
else.
was
2
another
years from
part.
going
That was
through
another
all the
part of it
shit.
too. Yeah, because that one of the particular projects we had such a struggle with the building department that we had to file complaints up in Boston. We got awarded judgments on them, and
There's no
eventually
compensation for that though.
there's no compensation.
Which
for
is
it.
crazy in my
No.
opinion.
There's so this is the thing that's so crappy about it when it comes to building departments is the way Mass General Law is written. It states that even if a building commissioner is wrongfully delaying a project against Mass law and the building code and whatever it may be, that they cannot be held civilly liable. So how do you hold someone accountable for doing something wrong? They know they're doing something wrong, and there's no accountability to it.
Those are the jobs I want when I retire.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
I don't have to
crazy.
show up. I don't have no rhyme or reason.
Right?
You just, not today.
Yeah. So we had a project where we're now underway for it, but we had a project where it was this family. They were going to be tearing down their mother-in-law's home. They're going to be rebuilding a new house on the property with an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit attached to it, and creating this generational piece of property that now they're all going to live in together to help with the mother aging in place, help with the baby that they wanted to have come on the way. The building department, instead of taking 30 days to issue the permit, took 120 days. They took 4 times the legal limit. So
Let's not put the building department totally in. There was one person that was in charge of the building department. So there's a lot of great people in a lot of these departments, but it was one particular person that really held it up.
But then even like town administrators or those who are in charge of those, they don't do anything about it.
Nothing.
So that client lost their financing in that time frame because it took so long and then interest rates spiked in that time frame. They lost it. So it delayed their project over a year. So now here we are. We finally broke ground on their project, but it delayed their wedding dreams. It delayed their life dreams.
Their cost has gone way
their
up, too,
costs
at
went
this
way
point.
up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And-
it's real world. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like civil wise, money, the only way that they could see their money back would be if they hired an attorney for $50,000, which who casually has that laying around to hire an attorney
To fight somebody,
to
you
fight
might not
that,
win.
which you might not even win, or you might get a settlement of $5 and hey, sorry this happened. So it's tough.
So we go to bat, for our customers. Like we actually were on the radio. We pushed back with the building department, and we got movement, but it's like it was too little, too late. But that's the thing. When you work with us as a quarterback, we mean it. Like
You're
we're going
doing
to
it.
point you in the right direction. We're going to help you throughout the whole process, and that's an unfortunate circumstance. We could only help them so much, but we are building for them. We're underway finally. So
Hopefully
it's
the
a
interest
beautiful
rates
home.
work out for them.
Well, they locked
For all
in
of
still
us.
kind of high, but low enough for them to
Yeah.
move it
That's right.
forward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And once it's done, they'll do their refi and they'll be fine, I'm sure.
Now, is there anything being done, or are you guys looking into doing anything to help make that process easier in the future, or any type of, actual hurt that can be caused to the other side if that happens?
So we've tried. The amount of detailed, it is crazy if I went through my email, the amount of detailed summarized emails that we've sent to select boards and town administrators or mayoral offices or city council people breaking down different projects, where the balls have been dropped. Hey, we called this building inspector 5 times over the last 2 weeks and we haven't received a call back. Nothing changes. Nothing. No
Yeah,
matter
and then
how
when
many.
you become that squeak wheel, you think he wants to pick up the foot. It's like,
we put
it's
together
just-
reports.
It's such a hard thing.
We've offered to sit on committees to help structure guidelines for the building departments because we're very well versed when it comes to building code. It's just
and the movement to the town departments. What's happened
It's
over the more
excruciating.
recent years is you pull a building permit and the town says, okay, before I even, the building department, before they process, they say, okay, tax collector, look at this permit. Did they pay the taxes? Okay, if it didn't, it's not going to advance past that part. So you got to go and pay your taxes, which is, I get that one. That's a legitimate one. But, historic commission's got to look at it. All these different departments, DPW, have to look at the permit before then it gets processed. So a lot of times the wrong departments are included in these submittals that don't even need to be involved. It's not my opinion. It's just they don't need to be
facts.
They don't need
involved.
to be
So
there.
we've offered to help streamline that, and in the towns that we've been working in, especially Dartmouth, they've made improvements for sure.
I've been laughed at when I walk in select board meetings. Like I'm there to help like improve a system and just like the like laugh. It's like,
Here
we're
comes
just
the
trying to help this
troublemaker
town,
again.
you know.
Yeah. It's tough.
Just the common thread I hear throughout appeal boards and towns is no one wants to set precedents. No one wants to be like make that major change. No one, and I think it's a symptom of our world where it's so heavily regulated. You guys are in a very regulated realm. Like everything's so heavily regulated. Nobody's got the guts to like make decisions on their own.
Blow it up.
Like just make a decision.
Yeah.
Like, what, I don't really,
Make it-
I don't need to
make
go
a
through
change.
all these little steps, but let's help you move. How can I help you? That's what we're looking for when we go to a town hall or a city hall. How can I help you with this project? You don't got to roll the red carpet out for me, but like instead it feels like I like to say,
at the end of
how
the
can
day-
I get in your way?
Yeah.
And how can I be a narcotics agent and you're the drug dealer? Because that's what it feels like. They spend more time going out writing violations
When it
than they
should
do
be
Trying to
processing
find
the
issues
permit.
of not
At
to
the
give
end
it
of the
to you.
day,
Correct.
you're a paying customer. You're paying to
Right.
get the permits. You're
Right.
paying to go through the process.
Yeah.
The consumer that you're hired from
Right.
is a taxpayer. You guys are paying
Yeah,
like the
absolutely.
whole process.
Prove the
So
town.
is
not
just
to dwell on
insane.
the negative side, but we've put systems that like years ago we'd be like, all right, we'll just kind of work with them and maybe they'll help us out. That doesn't work anymore. So we've kind of put our foot forward, like we're kind of not afraid to speak up and show them in the law where they're violating it really early, and we've kind of become that face of it, which is fine. I didn't want to go there.
That's good.
But
Yeah,
now
we have like a
someone's
report
gotta-
that
Now-
we
now
have
you
a
don't have to worry
report
about
that
it.
we
You're like,
send that
stamp
says you
it.
got to process this in this amount of time, just politely, but it's kind of like politely, like you better
Yeah,
move.
hey, you know what? I'll give you those 30
Yeah.
days. Maybe I could have got it
Yeah.
faster, but I'm not going to risk the
that's
120.
That. And that's that. We just want to build great projects. We want to get to that part. Let's get to that part.
We don't want to have to focus on being attorneys or being
Yeah,
banks
yeah.
and having to float these projects. We want to just focus on creating great
Yeah,
things.
you wanna
and
do what you do.
Yeah. And one of
Yeah.
my, everyone always has like their New Year's resolutions. I don't really play by the whole resolution game. I more so like to have like New Year goals or like focuses. So like one of my focuses has been, especially because it's been so discouraging over the last year or two, dealing with these towns, trying to make change. I was working with Dartmouth, trying to get them to sell the old police station to create housing there instead of just tearing it down. My goal has become, instead of fighting these people, instead of trying to actually make change, working with select boards, whatever it may be, it's to do it on my own. And so that's why, we're members of the South Coast Business Alliance. We raise money for at-risk youth throughout the area. We're in the process of we're going to be developing a couple fire stations in New Bedford and to create some market rate housing in those fire stations. So instead of trying to create the change, we're trying to be the change in our own ways where we don't need the permission of a select board. And, just that's my goal for this year.
Yeah, it's a great goal because we were talking about like, man, the effort we put in to fighting this one permit, like we just have to choose. We should just we got to next time choose something like a bigger cause or like approach it, because the amount of work to solve a small problem is often the same
Take the
amount of
big
work
one.
to solve a bigger problem. So it's just the way you approach it. So that's a great strategy he's got there for sure.
Yeah, you guys do a lot of great work in the community with South Coast Business Alliance. I see you guys just broke some records, right? You guys just had one of the biggest
Record year.
Oktoberfests.
At record year, for
Great
sure.
job.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean,
Thank you.
I grew up going to Oktoberfest as a kid, and there's actually a picture of me and my brother walking around. I think UMass did like a color run, and me and my brother holding like the 9th annual Oktoberfest flyer trying to sell tickets. I think this year was the 19th annual, so it's 10 years
10
ago.
years ago. Yep.
So it's cool going from being a kid, seeing the event, then like helping with the garbage at the event, to then becoming a member. And then last year, or for the most recent Oktoberfest, I was the co-chair with Chris Resendiz for Oktoberfest. And then my dad recently became emeritus, so you were in the group for 10 years, dedicated 10 years to the group, all that time, the membership dues, the contributions to the legacy fund, which is a fund for if we're ever not a thing anymore. It's this fund that generates money every year that can be donated out to the community. Yeah, exactly. It's really
You were in
incredible.
there for 5 years.
Yeah, I did like 5 years. Couldn't
Thank
get to
you.
the emeritus. I mean, it's a great group. I mean, I had a lot going on. I just started a family and started having kids. But yeah, man, I don't know how you've grown up around it and then you dove right into it. Speaks to your character because
How old are you,
He's a key
Christian?
member.
listen, to some of those nights where you might have had a few cocktails while you're celebrating from just, I know you did a lot with Oh my God, Nick Francis, another
Nick
Meredith
Francis,
guy,
yeah.
right? Getting it all set up the day before. And
Yeah, I've always
all
been-
the permitting and everything goes
I still
into
am,
it.
even being emeritus. Like this year, I was still very involved with it, and I plan to continue
Yeah.
to be. You know, just I might not go to every meeting, monthly meeting, but I'm still want to.
No, that's awesome.
As a member, I'm just not vice president. You know, Craig Bugia stepped in as a vice president now, and Chris Resendiz, he's been, in my opinion, the best president of the organization we've ever had.
Yeah, Chris is a great guy. You guys are.
He's taken it like it's like his own business baby. Like he's just crushing
Passionate
it.
about it
He's
too.
doing
Like he's
great.
always talking about it. But seeing your dad and all those years of carrying trash at like 12:30, 1 o'clock. So if you saw that when you were like 10 or 12 and you still followed in those footsteps, because that's like the worst 2
We
hours.
got a great
sometimes.
story. Is actually his brother Logan, his 18-year-old brother Logan. We were at one of the events. It was when we were inside the state pier, inside the building.
Yeah, I
and we had the
remember those
cornhole
days.
board set up, and he was playing, and he was celebrating. He got like a good shot, and he tripped over an electrical cord on the ground, and he fell back, and I guess he broke his arm. The EMT said that he broke his arm, so we had to go to the hospital. Yeah, and we went to the hospital. I have a picture of him, the two of them in the bed, and he's got the cast on with the Oktoberfest shirts, and we actually went back, and he worked the event with the broken arm, and
That's wild.
like
That's
they've
awesome.
been down since day one. Like, yeah,
That's a
for
great
sure.
group.
Yeah,
guys-
and I really feel like in order to love what you do in life, you have to do something that's in line with your passions, but you also have to have like a reason. Everyone has a why. I'm sure you have a why for why you guys are in the lending, environment. One of my biggest whys, aside from creating people's dreams homes, is helping those who have had it worse than me. Right? That's always been the thing that's gotten me through different things growing up. My parents weren't together. Yes, I work with my dad now. We have a great business together, but it wasn't easy growing up in a split household for many different reasons. And what got me through it was knowing that someone had it worse than me. So my goal was always to help those who had it worse than me once I was able to. And so I feel like I have to pay it back some way. That we're blessed for our business and for plenty of other things in our life. And so the SCBA, giving back to those kids who come from horrible circumstances or going through terrible things, like that helps me fulfill my why, and that helps me just go on with my day to day.
At-risk
That's
youth,
awesome.
and that's, as you know, that's what we donate to. At-risk youth. It's not, it's really, if you want us to help out, it has to be with that, and it's a very powerful group because the amount of effort we put in. No one's a paid member, no one's a paid board member, nothing. We pay dues to be part of the group. Actually, I don't have to pay anymore because I'm emeritus.
Christian's paying double.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
No, you know what's messed up is I was the first junior member, and this year I'm the first full member, even though I've been the secretary and the co-chair at this point. So my emeritus period doesn't start until now. I've been a member for 5 years, so I got to do another 10.
Hey, it's okay because
They want you for another 10. That's why. Like
Listen,
they need
I don't
you.
want to hear it because I was involved for 6 years before I did 10 years. So I've actually been involved in the group for 16 years.
That's
Because
awesome.
Christian Farland was trying to get me to get. I'm like, listen, I got young kids. I got too much going on right now. I'm starting my business, know. So, but eventually, I made membership, and it's been great. And it's a great organization. It's like I said, the amount of effort this year, they broke records. Christian's now the chair of Oktoberfest. This year, he was co-chair with Chris Resendiz, but they broke records with everyone. Chris pushing everyone to get sponsorships.
It's a huge event. I mean, it's massive.
Huge. Great music.
I'm actually curious because I just said that I have my why, and I asked you guys. I said that you guys have yours. What are your whys? Why do you enjoy the field that you're in? You're not used to being asked the question on your own podcast.
Mortgage Daddies to the rescue here. We got contract daddies.
I'll go. I'll go. It's fine. So, what I did before I started lending was I was a firefighter paramedic. So I was always helping people. And when I started doing this, I felt like, I'm helping people in a different way. There wasn't a lot of education from what I could see from other guys at my fire department, other people who were buying houses when they were getting into a house or knowing what was going on. So when I took this on and I started to do this, I really kind of wanted to be somebody that did this a little bit different than everybody else. I wanted to spend that little extra time with somebody, make them feel comfortable. Like I was talking to you guys about how I feel when I deal with certain people in construction or whatever. Like I as a consumer want to feel comfortable with the choices that I'm making, and I want to understand the process. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that I could give that back to the consumers that I'm working with and really help them. And there's nothing that makes me happier when you get those calls or texts from these people that have been trying to buy a house for so long, and they are like crying and telling you how happy they are, that the dreams that they've had. And it's like, I almost feel like I get that more now than when I was rushing into a burning building or pulling somebody out or doing CPR, because you're in and out. You don't have those longer term relationships. Like I have relationships now with these people for years and years and years after. So it's a different way of helping people. But at the end of the day, I'm still helping people.
Providing a service, an important
You know,
service.
there's really not a big difference besides just how I'm doing it.
And we say how we're involved in making the biggest and helping people with the biggest investment they're ever going to make in their life for the most part. And you're in that same boat as us, you know, just in a
There's
different
a lot
role.
more stress, like, you know, and I don't like the way that some people in this business look at it. Like they don't care. I care probably more than most people doing it themselves even care about it, because I want this to go through for them. I want it to be as painless as possible. Sometimes there's things out of everybody's control, but it's how you handle those situations, and it's how you kind of can, you know, relay that news or that disappointment, or, you know, can kind of handle the situation where you become more of a counselor at times, where, you know, I think some of the things I did in the past helped me with that piece of it. But, you know, really it's just helping people and making sure that, you know, people are happy at the end of the day. And whether it's everybody in that, like, people don't understand how much stress there is in a transaction. Never mind building a house with deadlines and everything, but just a normal transaction. People are planning on moving. They have movers set up. They have, you know, they're taking days off of work. And for you to get a call the day before, the 2 days before, saying, oh, you know what, something happened, we're not, you know, and to not even care is mind blowing to me.
Especially
you know?
right now, where people are like, we experienced this today, or more recent deals, is where you have, like, people aren't they're not buying a home until they have their current home sold. So it's like they're not jumping out of that
You got
house.
waterfall effects, so
Yeah,
we
it's
call
like
it waterfall
waterfall.
deals.
Yep.
So, you know, and sometimes it's 2, 3, 4 of them.
We're doing that right now.
I think 3. It's like
I've
there's
had
a lot
deals
of
where I have
potential
2 or
for
3
something.
legs in that, you know, because of luckily with, you know, the business that we've been able to build and the trust with this area, we have a lot of the transactions in this area. So we're a lot of those legs, and it's like, it just is terrible when there's that one leg that's holding up the whole thing. And it's, you know, it's typically poor communication. It was either a bad pre-approval to start, but poor communication throughout the process, where something could have been fixed that is causing a huge delay because somebody's afraid to pick up the phone or afraid to tell them what's really going on, or they don't know what they're like. You shouldn't even have put them in that position to begin with. You know, you want to be that yes man, is what I always think. Like, I get these realtors all the time that talk to me and they want a pre-approval yesterday. That doesn't necessarily happen every time, and that's not necessarily the best thing for your client, because when this happens, who are you mad at? You're mad at everybody, and you all look stupid about the situation, when if you would have took a little bit more time and done the homework and make sure that was actually going to work, you're never going to put your client in that situation. And that's what I want to do and what we try to do at Milestone, versus what a lot of other people kind of in this business just want you as a realtor to love me. So I'm going to say yes and give you a pre-approval in 2 seconds and give you whatever you want. Christian, that's not always the case. I can't always do that. And I have to be there to be that person to draw the line in the sand. Otherwise, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Be a problem later. It's going to rear its ugly head later.
It might not bite you every time, but it'll bite you.
Communication and setting expectations. I read this book called Managing the Emotional Homeowner. And actually, we ended up going to a seminar. I didn't realize the presenter was the same gentleman that wrote that book. But one of the takeaways from that is just setting expectations very early with the client, whatever industry you're in, you know, and always communicating. It's huge, because clients really, you know, maybe it's HGTV or maybe it's what they see on Pinterest. They have these expectations of the process. You know, I'm sort of the same as in your industry. You really have to set it early. We have a client expectations agreement that besides our contract, we have them sign a expectation agreement where we outline a lot of the things that Christian mentioned about good, fast, cheap. Can't have all 3. You know, if you know, as far as, like, you know, different expectations with communicating with us, not communicating directly to our subcontractors on the job site, because you might think you told a drywall guy you want this, but then he doesn't do it, and then we didn't make sure it got done. So we have all these things have to be put in place. And
communication is crucial. It's one of the biggest rules in our company among all of our employees is that you have to get back to someone within 24 hours. If someone calls you and leaves you a voicemail or an email, you must get back to them within 24 hours. Even an acknowledgement. If it's a detailed email, at least hey, we're reviewing this, we're going to get back to you, you know?
Yeah, I think, you know, my why has evolved, and it feels like it evolves like every 2 or 3 years at this point. Yeah. But I think right now, like, that why that gets me up and gets me going every single day is, you guys have mentioned, I believe it's George, who's been with you for 15 years. Yeah. That actually triggered, right, when you said that, is, you know, trying to build a culture for the company is very important to me, and that's really the why. And also to make sure that they can support their families, they're living a good life, they're maximizing their potential, right? Like you saw something in George that you said, if I can't afford to lose this guy because he's going to keep getting better, he's going to keep learning. Those are the type of things right now. Like that's the why. It's the coaching. It's the building of the culture. It's kind of growing the company that way to sustain it, right? Well past your retirement, and you pass it on to the next generation, and the succession plan that we look forward to throughout our businesses is really kind of where the why is falling these days.
Well, guys, it was an absolute pleasure. I look forward to having you guys on again because I feel like we could go on
God,
for another couple hours, but we might run out of tape here. So
it's all good.
I really appreciate you guys coming on, supporting the podcast.
You guys. This is awesome.
I look forward to watching you guys grow your business and having a lot of years of success. And it's really inspirational to see someone 21 years old already jumping into all the nonprofit and stuff. I mean,
crazy.
That's awesome, man.
Congratulations. Proud of you guys too. Take a vacation, will you? You guys
soon.
Animals.
One day. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
You.